So, thank you very much for joining us, Randy.
Thank you.
Perhaps if you could start by introducing SL Corporation and tell us a bit more about what you do.
SL Corporation is a company that's been around actually about 20 years, and we do visualization of real-time information. And about 8 years ago, we got into the enterprise market to be able to look at the performance of components of real-time applications. And so in finance, in telecom, in transportation and logistics, e-commerce, they've got a lot of moving parts that have performance characteristics that tell you whether they're performing for you or they're not. And we're all about visualizing that information and acting on it. So initially we came out with products to look at the middleware to support that, and now we're moving up to application level monitoring to allow you from a service or an application perspective understand, is it performing, are end users at levels end users are acceptable with, and how to prevent outages in those conditions.
So this really picks up on what you were talking about in the panel and why application performance monitoring fails. What classic reasons are there for this?
Well, it's sort of a new paradigm, really. In the old school, we had a lot of technologies and we have specialized teams that monitor those things. But they don't understand now that there's many components in an application, how to put that together and make sense of it. So the people that are responsible for the application running get all these disparate views of information that they can't correlate in their heads. And now they want a centralized place where they can do that. And what the results of that are, when it goes down, they can respond quickly, or they can get information prior to that and be proactive about solving those issues before the end users are calling up and saying, it's not working. And that's really the sort of new evolution of how you're monitoring those things and reacting to the information from one console.
Because I think this is one of those things that when we talk about this highly complicated technologies and all these amazing new systems, especially as we talk about multiple vendors and multiple solutions, one thing we tend not to talk about is the error and applications failing. And we've all seen the blue screen of death, and we've all seen applications fail us. What are you able to do? What are people able to do to help prevent this happening and perhaps detect when a crash may happen and circumnavigate around it?
Well, it's about getting the touch points where you have failures, where you might have failures, getting that information into one central place and being able to look at it from a perspective of how is it trending? Am I having a spike here? Is it going continually up? Meaning in about 1 hour or 1 day I'm going to have a failure, and that way you can be proactive about it before those situations happen. But then really more advanced things are automated. In other words, don't have a person involved. Be able to look at those things automatically with rules and say, if this is happening, fix it for me automatically.
Well, it's much like an extension of algorithms themselves that they're using for trading.
You're absolutely right, yeah. And so as the applications get more and more complex, then there's more points of failure. And so you need to have all of that information from these points of failure available to you, either to automate the solution or to have a real human in there solving it.
So how ubiquitous, in your opinion, is the end-to-end visibility? Does everyone already seem to have it reasonably covered, or is it quite new and untouched?
It's fairly new. I mean, and it's raising in priority levels from the sort of CIO, CTO perspective as, is it the top 5 yet? As far as things I really need to look at and invest in. And actually it's being sometimes driven from the line of business. They're saying, you've got to fix something, and in fact I'll prove to you my downtime expenses so that I can really justify the solution straight off from that. And that's really elevating the level of actually initiatives to solve the problem, but also vendor offerings. There's hundreds of now trying to solve this initial solution, and the analysts are picking up on it, trying to say which ones are solving what problem.
So if this is something that people may be feeling that their business is suffering from, what are the top 3 things people should be looking out for and should be doing?
Well, first of all, understanding what's the criticality. What are your end users experiencing? Really investigate that from sort of a trouble ticket perspective, and then understand how many downtimes and outages you have and how much it's costing you. And that's really going to drive you forward to figuring out when and how I need to have a solution, and where, and what touch points to put those in.
Well, thank you very much for speaking with us today. If people would like to find out more, where can they go?
Well, they can come to sl.com and look at all of our solutions for component monitoring or application performance monitoring.
Thank you very much.
Okay.